It should come as no surprise to my friends and viewers that trading card games have always had a very special place in my heart. In this series, both Raikourider and myself will be opening 24 packs or one box of a core Yu-Gi-Oh set. Every week we will add an additional core set to our collections, moving in chronological order. We will use these cards to create a deck and then face off against one another in a best 2 out of 3 match, with the winner receiving 2 prizes to upgrade their deck, while the loser receives 1. These prizes can range from wildcards, to sealed product, to starter decks, and more. Every card that has been released will be available to us at least once. However, we cannot rest on our laurels. Between the ever-evolving nature of the Forbidden and Limited list, the cards that we ourselves choose to banish into the Shadow Realm, and even the way the very rules of the game will change, will keep our decks and our duels fresh. This is yet another Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series. Woo! Boy, that was a great match last week, and honestly, it feels good to be back in the winner's circle yet again. So, let's see if we can make the three-peat on this one. This is Labyrinth of Nightmare. This was released in March 2003, and this was a set that actually contained a good mix of monster spells and traps that actually had some value. So we're going to go through some of the cards here, see what we can point out that are actually useful. Starting with the short prints because they're part of the commons. Right away, the first card is going to be familiar to anyone who's watched Cimoooooooo series, and that is Fairy Box. Whenever your opponent's monster declares an attack, you could toss a coin and call it. If you call it right, that monster's attack drops to 0 until the end of the battle phase. So if your opponent tries to ram into your monsters, there's pretty much a 50-50 chance that they'll turn around and lose their monster instead. And if you have something like Robin Goblin or White Magical Hat out, that'll make it even more destructive for them, so they are going to be very cautious. And during each of your standby phases, you could pay 500 life points or destroy this card. So, pretty good card overall. Definitely going to be silly if we pull it. It is a short print, so there's not a guarantee that we're going to pull any of them, but here's hoping. Scrolling through a little bit more here. This is actually another card, and this actually might be a sweet little tech card depending on how Rise deck works out. Collected Power. You target one monster on the field that's face up, you equip it with every equipped card that's currently on the field. If any of them now equipped are on an incorrect target, then they're destroyed. This is another way we could possibly deal with Maha Vilo, because if he rams his Maha Vilo into something of ours, and he's got like 2 or 3 equipped cards, we could drop this card on him, get a massive attack on our field, and basically take out his Maha Vilo and a good chunk of his life points. Fusion Gate's another good card. This one basically gives us the ability to pull a polymerization anytime. The only difference is the monsters that we use to fusion summon get banished instead of sent to the graveyard. So, depending on what we use, that might be something to keep in mind, because we're at the point right now where banishing monsters is kind of bad, simply because there's not a good way to recur them. So, if we're banishing them, we have to make sure that we're okay with them not coming back. Vengeful Block Spirit is a pretty good card too. It's a card that prevents all monsters that are summoned from attacking the turn they are summoned. So if they are flip face up from an attack, or rather if you flip summon them or special summon them or whatever, they have to wait a turn. So in other words, for those of you who know Magic, this is giving them summoning sickness. Then we'll scroll down real quick to the rest of the commons, see what we can find of any note here. Lightning Blade's a good one for warriors, and in fact I'm willing to bet Rai's probably going to pay attention to that for his Hayabusa Knight. We have, let's see, Fire Sorcerer is actually an interesting common, not for the reason you would think. Fire Sorcerer's effect is you flip it face up. When it's flipped face up, you randomly send 2 cards from your hand and banish them to inflict 800 damage to your opponent's life points. Now, On its own, this card is extraordinarily bad. However, there are cards, I don't remember if it's in this set or in a future set, but there is a card called Creature Swap that lets you switch a monster you control to your opponent. If we have this and Creature Swap, we could set this on the field, give it to him, ram our monster into it, and whether it survives or not is irrelevant. It'll flip, and Rai will have to banish 2 cards from his hand, randomly. That's going to be well worth paying 800 life points for the effect. Scrolling through a little more here, we have Hysteric Fairy, which basically is just more of an 1800 beater, but it has an effect where you contribute 2 monsters to gain 1000 life points. For the most part, that's not going to matter too much, but it's still a good option nonetheless, and it's a good light monster. So, again, as I've said before, light monsters and dark monsters are going to be very important once we hit Invasion of Chaos. Scrolling down here, Offerings to the Doomed is actually a really good removal card. It lets you destroy a face-up monster on the field, and then you have to skip your next draw phase. So it's a bit of a hefty cost. However, if you feel like your hand is good on its own, you don't necessarily need that extra draw. This will be a really good way to get rid of a monster. Scrolling through some more. This set also introduced the elemental spirits. So with these guys, if you banish a monster of their respective attribute from the graveyard, or 2 monsters in the case of Soul, Impurity, and Light, you can special summon them. These are going to be good for 2 reasons. They're good because they're decent power, and on top of that, they can also be used for tribute fodder. Given the fact that we have Jinzo, that's kind of an important detail for us. Zambira the Dark is actually a really good basic monster on its own. He's 2100 attack for a level 4. His restriction is that he can't attack directly, and if he destroys a monster in battle, he loses 200 attack. Now, that's actually a troubling effect, simply because if Rai really wants to, he could throw a monster into Zambira, drop its attack that way, and then he could use another monster to get over it. The Dark Door is another card that's going to be irritating. With it in play, both players can only attack with 1 monster per turn. Is it with 1 monster, or is it they can only attack once? Only 1 monster can attack. Okay. So, once again, this is a case where Rai's Hayabusa Knight can actually come in handy for him, because he could get 2 attacks off versus R1. Bait Doll's an interesting card. It lets you force the activation of a trap card, and if the timing of the trap card is incorrect, then you get to negate the effect and destroy it. If it's not a trap card, you return it face down. If its activation timing is correct, it activates and resolves as normal. Now, here's the best part too. After this card resolves, you shuffle it into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. Which means that unless he specifically negates the Bait Doll, we have a way to somewhat consistently keep ourselves from decking out. Because if we really need to, we could take another spell card, set it on the field, force our activation of it that way, put the spell back face down, and then put Bait Doll back in the deck. So if he doesn't have a way to pop that, to pop all of our back row, we can at least keep that to keep ourselves alive. And then we have Akibio Drakmord here, which is a very good playground staple. The equipped monster can't attack, and then after 2 turns, the monster is destroyed, and then this card goes back to your hand at that point. So this is one of those where he's going to have to actually pop this card itself somehow, or find a way to pop, or basically tribute his monster away in order for us to not get this back. Which even then, we have Magician of Faith. That could be a real problem for him. Scrolling up into the rares, we actually have a couple interesting cards here. Dark Lord Marie is actually one that's going to be kind of nice if we could get it. While it's in the graveyard, during each of our standby phases, we gain 200 life points. Doesn't seem like a lot, but there is actually a super rare in this set that we're going to talk about in a moment. Jowgen the Spiritualist is actually another card that's kind of interesting. While it's on the field, face up on the field, neither player can special summon a monster, and then you could choose to discard a random card in your hand to destroy all special summon monsters on the field. This, we want to have at least one copy of just because of a really dumb combo that might be a thing later on. But for right now, if we just get one copy to hold on to, that'll be nice. Gilasaurus is a good card too. This one, you could special summon it from your hand, but if you do, your opponent can special summon a monster from their graveyard. If Rai has no monsters in his graveyard, this is a free +1 from the hand. Tornado Bird is actually a pretty decent flip effect monster. When it's flipped, you could target 2 spell and traps on the field and return them to their hands, to the owner's hand. And then Destruction Punch will actually be pretty nice for if he runs into one of our defensive monsters, because if an attacking monster hits a defense monster that has a higher defense point value, the attacking monster actually gets destroyed. Which, for the most part, probably won't come up very often, but it is something to take note of and be possible. So we're going to look at the super rares, and here is where some of the stuff starts getting insane. First off, Fire Princess. This is the card that I'm talking about regarding Marie the Fallen, the Dark Marie. Sorry, it used to be known as Marie the Fallen one. With Fire Princess, while she's on the field, face up, every time you gain life points, you deal 500 damage to your opponent. If you have this, and then say Dark Lord Marie in the graveyard, or Solemn Wishes on the field, you actually have a pretty potent little combo here. And if you could keep the Fire Princess alive, it gets real troubling real fast for them. Jar of Greed's a basic trap card that lets you draw a card. Very simple, but it's a super rare, so it's kind of underwhelming, but it does let you thin your deck a little bit. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer is actually a good one, though. While it's face up on the field, your opponent cannot banish cards. And then they can't banish cards from either graveyard, and then when it deals battle damage to an opponent, you could target 2 monsters in their graveyard and banish them. Pretty good in general. We don't have a whole lot of graveyard recursion at the moment, but this will be very nice for later. And then Dark Spirit of the Silent is actually one of those that not a lot of people think about, but it's actually a pretty good card on its own. If your opponent's monster declares an attack, you get to not only negate that attack, but you could pick another face-up monster they control, and that monster attacks instead. And if it's in face-up defense mode, it's forced into attack mode. So basically, what you could do instead is have this flip. You could flip this, stop one of his big attackers, and then make one of his weenies attack into our 2k defender, and basically force him to deal some damage. It's actually a pretty fun card. But it is a super rare, so it's going to be kind of tough to get. Then we scroll up into the ultra rares, and this one is definitely hit or miss, but there are actually a couple of decent ones. Massacre Restrict is an interesting card. When it's face up, neither player can tribute monsters, period. Kind of interesting, but not necessarily something massive for us. Torrential Tribute is probably the best ultra rare here. If a monster is summoned to the field, flip this, destroy all monsters on the field. So basically a free board wipe on your opponent's turn, and if you really need to, you can flip summon something to board wipe on your turn, and then normal summon into an attack. Card to Save Return is a really good ultra rare, and it's really good for later down the road for us. If a monster is special summoned from the graveyard, I believe it's from your graveyard? Let's see. Yeah, when a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you could draw a card. There are some decks that if you could get this up and play them, and constantly recycle from the grave, you could draw a lot of cards, and it gets nutty. United We Stand and Mage Power are both really good equipped spells, but aside from like just turning one monster into a massive beat stick, they're really not all that useful. And then Dark Necrofear is actually a pretty good card here. It requires you banishing 3 fiends from your graveyard, but it is a 2200 attack monster, 2800 defense, so that's pretty strong. And then if it's destroyed by an opponent's card, whether by battle or an effect, and is in your graveyard at the end of the turn, you could actually turn this into a snatch steal and steal an opponent's monster. However, they don't gain life points for it. So it's an interesting little concept and a pretty good card. And then finally, we have the secret rares. And Gemini Elf is alright, but it's not the best card. It's just a 1900 meter. At the time, that is the highest attack for a level 4 monster without a restriction. But for us, it's not that big a deal. However, Magic Cylinder is a huge card for us. Because if your opponent attacks, you could flip this up, negate the attack, and then you deal damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack power. It is ridiculous, and it can easily close out a match. So, we're going to go ahead, and before we start with the pack opening, we're actually going to discuss the next Forbidden and Limited list, which was the December 2002 list. So, because Labyrinth of Nightmare came out at the tail end of March, and the next list after this would start in April. So, that means that we're going to be running with this list. And it actually doesn't have too much that impacts us directly. Jinzo gets limited, Morphing Jar gets limited, but we don't have that just yet because that was in Tournament Pack 2, and I haven't really tried to pull any of that yet. Witch gets moved to 1, we only have 1. Card Destruction gets limited, we don't have Card Destruction, so it doesn't matter. Limiter Removal, Premature Burial, both go to 1. Swords of Revealing Light gets knocked down to 1, we only have 1 copy anyway. Imperial Order, Ceasefire, Call of the Haunted go to 1. Imperial Order is the only one we have, and we only have one copy of it anyway. And then Morphing Jar number 2, Nobleman of Crossout, and Backup Soldier go to 2. Morphing Jar number 2 being hit actually impacts us because we have 3 copies, so we will have to go down to 2 for that, but that's not that big a deal. So we're going to go ahead and go into the pack opening. Alright, so 24 packs of Labyrinth of Nightmare. Let's see what we could pull. First pack. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping that we would get some secret rare luck like the last set, but still a good first pack. We have an Akibio Drakmord, which is really good. An Offerings to the Doomed, which is really good. Amphibian Beast is actually not a horrible rare. It's a level 6, 2400 attack monster. Kind of wish it would have been a level 5 because of a certain little combo you could use with it later. You'd be able to use with it later on, but still a good pack nonetheless. Okay, so second Akibio Drakmord, which is pretty nice. We have a Cure Mermaid, which I don't remember exactly what this does. Let's see. Okay, you gain 800 life points during each standby phase while it's face up. So, I mean, not the worst effect, but probably not something we're going to focus on unless we absolutely have to. Okay, so there's our playset of Akibio Drakmord right off the bat, which is pretty nice, and that's our second Offerings to the Doomed. So that's pretty good. Having a Destruction Punch will be interesting, but I don't know if we're going to necessarily run that. That might be a side deck option, because we are a little thin on trap cards still. Okay, so there's a Bait Doll, which is going to be good, and a Fire Sorcerer, which, again, it is a really dumb gimmick, but if we could hit that could be a really good hand control option for us. Okay, so a second Bait Doll, which is pretty good. And we get a Dark Lord Marie, which I'm happy for that. That means that we have that option available to us later. And we actually have a Tornado Wall. Now, I didn't mention this because we only have one Yumi, but this is actually not a horrible card. While Yumi is on the field, you could activate this card, and while it's face up, you take no battle damage from an attacking monster. Now, it is a bit iffy because you have to, if Yumi's destroyed, this card gets destroyed as well. So, something to pay attention to, but we only have one Yumi, so unless we hit a Legendary Ocean in multiple copies, it's not going to be something for us to look at. Okay, so that's our third Offerings to the Doomed, which is honestly not bad. And we actually pulled a Mask of Brutality for our rare. This card gives an equipped monster 1000 attack, but then during your standby phases, you have to either pay 1000 life points or this card gets destroyed. So it's definitely high risk, high reward, or you could even have it for a single turn if you want to make sure you have a monster on the field still. But overall, not a bad card. Pack number 10, we've got... Oh, okay, so there's a second Fire Sorcerer, and there's our Jowgen the Spiritualist. That's going to be kind of nice to have. Also, I want to point something out with this, the Emperor's Holiday. This was something I had considered a while back about maybe this could help out against Rai's deck. However, there's actually one problem with that, and that is the Emperor's Holiday just negates all equipped card effects on the field. However, Mahavilo gains 500 attack for every equipped card equipped to it, regardless of what that equipped spell does. Because of that, the Emperor's Holiday doesn't actually do anything to really help us. Now, granted, if he has a Malevolent Nuzzler attached, it does mean that it doesn't get the 700 attack. However, that still means Mahavilo is going to be at 2050 attack, which is actually still a trouble for us to deal with. So, unfortunately, the Emperor's Holiday is not going to make things a walk in the park for us. Okay, so this is actually a nice little pack. We have a Vengeful Bog Spirit, which is good. We have a Spirit of Flames, which can be good if we end up with a fire theme later down the road. And we actually hit our first Fairy Box, which is really nice, because this is definitely a card that if we don't have any, and Rai has at least one of, it's going to be real troubling for us. Also, I have to point out, we're almost halfway through the box, and I have yet to see a single holo. I'm starting to get really concerned about that. Especially given the fact that we pulled only 2 holos in Pharaoh's Servant, I'm starting to wonder if we're going to have more of this bad luck. And right as I say that, we immediately get a holo to start with, Dark Spirit of the Silent. Now, I will at least say, that is one I was excited to pull, so I'm hoping that actually works out well for us. That being said, there are definitely some other holos that I really hope we would get. And if it turns out this is one of the couple, like if we only get 2 or 3 holos total, then it's going to be a little bit rough to have this as one of them. Okay, so we actually hit a Collective Power, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, that's pretty much like the only thing of real note out of this pack, but at least we have that. Again, with how Mahavilo's been the last couple of episodes, anything we can toss into the side deck to potentially deal with it is important for us. Okay, this is a pack we really needed. We got ourselves our first copy of Zambira the Dark, we got ourselves a second Fairy Box, and a second Collective Power. However, I am noticing we are 3/4 of the way through the box, and Dark Spirit of the Silent is still the only holo we've pulled, so I'm really, really hoping we've hit something here. Holy shit. Okay, we actually pulled it. Magic Cylinder. Good God, that is probably, like, the best thing we could have pulled. I mean, granted, we only have 3 packs left, so we're definitely... I feel like this might be another case of only 2 holos. But, god damn, we really needed that Magic Cylinder so bad. Thank God. We actually hit a Spiritualism as our rare, too. That's actually not that bad. You can take a spell or trap the opponent controls and bounce it to their hand, and it actually technically is spell speed 4 in that the activation and effect can't be negated. So, this is actually a pretty good card for us, and the best part is it also gets around some destruction effects, because some cards, it doesn't destroy the card itself. Now, granted, it does bounce it back to the hand, so it's only a temporary solution, but still. But man, we really needed that pull. Alright, we're coming up on the last pack. Still only 2 holos. Can we please hit something good in the back? Let's flip it up and see. And oh shit! We actually got a second Magic Cylinder? Oh my god, okay. Oh my god. You know what? I think that redeemed it. I think that actually redeemed it entirely. There's the first one, and there's the second one. Holy shit. Like, I'm not even joking. That is seriously probably the... That probably was like the one thing that could have redeemed the lack of holos here. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, we are so gonna have to go into deck edit now and figure out what we're gonna do. But I don't even think Rai has a lot of back row removal at the moment, so this could be really big for us. So yeah, we're gonna go into deck edit and see what we could do. So be right back. Okay, so this is the deck we're bringing to today's duel, and this is going to be an interesting one. The reason is because, well, I'll explain it more about it in a moment, but let's just say this is going to be one of the first sets that allow us to play what is collectively known by most Progression Series fans as bullshit. And this deck is going to hopefully try to curtail said bullshit. So we're going to start things off. Yes, it is actually going to be a bit of a water focus. No, we are not running Yuumi. The reason is actually, well, I believe it's going to be twofold. Let me make sure something. Okay, yes. The first reason and main reason is actually because I only have one copy. So, unfortunately, I can't really max out on it. However, there is a secondary reason, and that is Tornado Wall. Specifically, Tornado Wall can only activate while Yuumi is on the field. Not while you control Yuumi. While Yuumi is on the field. Which means two things. One, this means that I have to have Yuumi up on the field in order to set it off, which is already a problem. But on top of that, this means that if I run Yuumi, Rai could potentially side in copies of Tornado Wall just for that purpose. Actually, you know what? Let me think about something. Okay, we're back, and anyone who noticed the difference, you're gonna see it. Let me explain. Okay, so let me go by card. First off, we have 2 copies of Aqua Spirit. This monster is one of the attribute spirits. We banish a water monster in our graveyard to special summon it. During our opponent's standby phase, once per turn, we can target a face-up monster they have on the field, change its battle position, and if we do, it can't change again for the rest of the turn. So if he has only one big monster on the field, we get to put it into defense mode, he can't attack with it, and if he has no other monsters, we basically get a free turn. 1 copy of Cyberjar. At this point, it's still too damn good to pass up, especially given the fact that most of our deck here is level 1 to 4 monsters, and even if we hit the higher levels, we still get them in our hand, so that's pretty good. 1 copy of Jinzo because, again, negating trap cards is going to be important for us for later. 2 copies of Magician of Faith to pull back any important spell cards we need. Maneater Bug for the sake of having removal. We'll probably replace this once we get some better options. 1 copy of Sangan to search out pretty much anything, just about anything here we need. 2 copies of Senju with 1,000 Hands and 2 Sonic Bird. This is to help pull the cards we need for the Crab Turtle line. 1 Witch of the Black Forest. 1 Zambira the Dark. We only pulled 1, but hopefully this will be all we need. Basically, this is here just as a beat stick, and if we hit something, if he puts up a 2k defender, we could hit over it. If we need some power, even if we need a powerful wall to stand up on the field to stop him attacking, that's all we need. 3 copies of 7-color fish, 1 copy of Amphibian Beast. This is a level 6 2400 attack monster. It will get a boost from our field spell, which is nice. And 1 Tribute 24 beats the 2 Tribute 24 that was Garnetia Elephantis. 2 copies of High Tide Gyojin. Now, I will admit this is a bit of an interesting and weird pick, but we kind of need water monsters to have power, and unfortunately at the moment High Tide Gyojin is probably the second highest monster we could get access to for this purpose, but hopefully we'll have better ones later. And the 2 copies of Crab Turtle. For the spells, we have 1 Bait Doll, which this will be good to help suss out his Mirror Force and any other trap cards that might be a problem. And of course, it also helps us act as a way to deter deck out. And in fact, if we absolutely need to, we could even place a spell card down on our field, set off Bait Doll targeting it, and then just shuffle it back once it fizzles. 1 copy of Fisher that we just got from Wildcards. Thank God. This is going to be pretty good. Just basic removal. Heavy Storm to clear the field. Pot of Greed, Raigeki, both of these are pretty much self-explanatory. 2 Rush Recklessly, again, if we could get a hit on a big monster, that's going to be important. Our copy of Swords of Revealing Light, we have not seen Weather Report out of him yet, and I don't think he's going to be running it by this point. So that's going to feel pretty good. 2 copies of Turtle Oath, and 2 copies of Yumi Aruka. Now, like I said, we only have 1 Yumi, so we're not going to play that. And this helps us give our monsters a power boost, while also bypassing Tornado Wall. For our traps, we have 2 Fairy Box. Rai, I am sure, is expecting this card, but it's a good way to get a surprise attack off, potentially. And as much as I want to combine Robin Goblin with it in the main deck, I feel like that's going to be a little too gimmicky. Imperial Order, he still has not seen this, but this is going to be a good way to knock out one of his spell cards for a turn, all of his spell cards for a turn, which can really make a difference if he ends up trying to push. 2 copies of Magic Cylinder, he is going to shit a brick when he sees this. And our Spellbinding Circle. For the Fusion deck, again, extra deck is just there for show. Our side deck, okay, so this is going to be our work to deal with 2 possible ways his deck can go. The 2 Island Turtle are in the side if we need defense. The reason they're out of the main is because Yumi Aruka actually drops Water Monster's defense by 400, which drops Island Turtle to a 1600. Not really all that useful nowadays, but at 2k normally, it's still pretty good. We have our Cold Wave in case we need that to push later on. 2 copies of Eternal Rest still if he is focusing on Equip Spells. 2 Offerings to the Doomed. This lets us destroy a monster on the field, but skip our next draw phase. If we really need that destruction, we have it. Paralyzing Potion, again, if we really need to some kind of removal, we have that as a backup. Tailor of the Fickle, 2 copies. Again, if he's running Equip Spells, we could utilize this to help us out. Our Shallow Grave is in the side deck. And then Collected Power is actually a fun one. This takes any monster that's face up on the field and equips it with all equip cards that are face up. So if he attacks us with a Maha Vilo, we could flip this and basically render his Maha Vilo powerless. Then we have Robin Goblin in the side. As I said, it feels gimmicky, but if we want to try it in Game 2, we can. And then Tornado Wall. So this is what I meant by bullshit. This set introduces a lot of stun cards. Things like the Dark Door. Things like Vengeful Bog Spirit. Things that stop you from attacking and slow down the game state. Tornado Wall is a similar one. While it's face up on the field, and Yumi is face up on the field, you take no battle damage from attacking monsters. And then this card gets destroyed if Yumi leaves the field. Now here's the thing. Since we don't need our own Yumi on the field, if Rai is running a water deck as well, and he's running Yumi, we could side these in and basically shut down his attacks. Which means that he has to either cripple his own strategy, or alternatively, it means that he just has to find a way to get around our Tornado Wall. But that's going to be our deck list, and hopefully we can take him down. This is going to be interesting to see what he pulls and brings, so ladies and gentlemen, it's time to duel. So, I have to say, deck building for this one was a heck of a labyrinth.
I must say, I have a question for you before we get started.
And what's that?
Are you playing bullshit?
Why are you asking me that? I'm not Gavin. Good luck.
Alright. Good. Yeah, let's get this on the road.
Damn.
I am very okay with this. I will take the play. Good luck, Duelist.
Good luck.
Alright, I will draw for my turn, stand by, main. I'm gonna start out like this. Just a T-set. Go!
Alright. Draw. Stand by main. Well, I guess we'll start with a little bit of greed.
Not okay with that, but sure.
Alright. Ooh, that's a good card. Alright. Uh, I think I'm just gonna set a card and set a couple. Your turn.
Fine by me. I will activate Solemn Wishes at your end step.
Solemn wishes. Oh no, so you're playing bullshit.
Perhaps. Draw for turn, stand by main.
Alright.
I will set another monster and I will end my turn.
Alright, I draw, stand by main. I think I'm gonna flip my Magician of Faith.
Seems powerful.
So we'll go ahead and take back our Pot of Greed.
Yep.
And let's fire it off.
You got it.
Alright. Not exactly what I was hoping to see, but not terrible. I think I'm going to tribute my Magician for Jinzo.
Well, I guess I'm not going to be gaining life points anytime soon.
And let's hit your new set.
It's Witch.
Alright.
What do I want? What do I want with Witch is the question. Copy of Princess of Tsurugi.
Oh, dear God. Not that thing.
It's a good card.
Yeah, it is. I kind of wish I pulled one. Or a couple, rather. Alright. Main 2. I guess I'll just go.
Draw for turn. I do not gain life points, unfortunately. Kind of want to slow the game down a little more.
Ew. Alright.
Go!
Stand by main. Ew. I think I'm going to set a monster. And then let's see what you originally set.
It's a giant rat.
Alright.
You're not going to be too happy with this.
Of course not.
Get over that, Jinzo!
Oh, God. Well,
I'll slap a mask on him, because I think he needs a new one.
Oh, man. Okay.
Go!
Alright, I
Take
draw.
5.
Stand by, I will take the 5. Main 1. Ooh. Boy, that's gonna be a rough one. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and flip my Magician of Faith.
Pot of Greed again.
You know it.
Yep.
That is not what I wanted to see. Well, I mean, it's not the worst thing, I guess. Alright, I think I'm going to run out a copy of Senju of the Thousand Hands.
Ah, I see. I see how you're gonna deal with the mask. That's clever. And the fact that you've played Pot of Greed 3 times already suggests that you probably have a way to ritual summon out a crab.
You would think that.
You've drawn 6 extra cards!
Yeah,
Still
and unfortunately, I lack the Oath.
Yee. Yeah, that's a thing.
So, that's a bit troubling. And the fact that I can't actually attack with anyone this turn is kind of rough on me, too.
Oh, that is nice.
Um... Alright, yeah, I'll pass. At the bare minimum, I don't have to worry about my magician getting destroyed this turn, either.
Alright, draw for turn, standby. Did you take the damage during your standby last time? Because it should be during mine.
Oh,
So
okay, okay. I thought it was during mine.
Yeah, so we'll actually resolve this correctly next turn.
Okay.
So I am going to set a monster. And I think that'll do.
Alright, draw. Stand by main, and oh, buddy, that I needed that one worse than
Oh, did
bad.
you just top deck Heavy Storm?
No, I top decked the Raigeki.
That's pretty good.
Oh, I just realized something stupid. I forgot to discard the hand size last turn.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go ahead and toss the cards that I was gonna toss then.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say, how are you holding that many cards?
And
you drew for turn, so oh wait, no, you have to discard one more.
Yeah,
because you played the Raigeki.
Right. Wow, I'm not gonna lie, I think I kind of had Magic take a hit on that one.
Well, even then, I think you still had too many cards.
Right. Oh, true, because Magic has a hand size limit of 7. Right. Yeah, I had like 9 or 10. Wow. My brain really went on vacation there. God, this is tough. Like, there's something I don't want to show off yet. Something here.
I mean, well, if you had the Heavy Storm, you would have played it. So you clearly don't have the Heavy Storm.
What the hell?
I'll just take it all.
Alright. And I will pass.
Alright, draw for turn.
During your standby, I will take the damage.
Yep. Main. I will set another monster and pass the turn. I'd really like to be gaining life points right now, but...
Finally! Alright, let's run out this Sonic Bird.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to be gaining life points again. Yup.
Let's see, how do I want to proceed here?
Well, we knew that one of us was going to be playing bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
The way this set is.
Okay, you know what? I'm actually perfectly content with revealing my little detail here, this way. This will actually get me pretty close to the end. I'm going to activate Heavy Storm. I actually had this sitting in my hand for a couple turns.
You did have it, okay.
So I'm going to lose my Spellbinding Circle and my Imperial Order.
Oh, you got an Imperial Order too?
Remember how I said I only hit 2 hollows in the entire Pharaoh Servant set? It was both secrets.
Wow, that's nuts.
So I'm going to go ahead and fire off Turtle Oath.
Yup.
I will pitch the first turtle I had in my hand to special summon the one I searched out. And then I'm going to activate Yumi Uruka.
Wow, that's a thing.
So, battle phase. Let's send Jinzo into your defense.
Okay, what if anything gets me out of this?
Let's see, that's 28, 31, 61, 50 coming at you.
I'll just take it all.
Main phase 2. I will set a card, and I will pass.
Alright, draw for turn, standby, main. Unfortunately, the heavy storm kind of won you the game. Nothing I can do about that.
Whew. Like, I really didn't want to show off the Imperial like that, but I didn't really have too much other choice. Alright. I think you're hitting other hollows in the process. I've been really, like, I've been hitting the top ones, but everything else I've been whiffing on big time. Oh my god. Fine. I'll take the 5. One of the few times that this card has ever seen the light of day, aside from the anime. True. Alright, I'll set a card. And I'll set a card. At least that one is reciprocal. Jesus! Alright. Fine, I'll take the 1,000. I don't really like that, but fine. I'm gonna activate Heavy Storm. I have to toss my fairy box, but I cannot take 1,000 damage every turn. Alright, I'm gonna flip my Man-Eater Bug, and let's pop your bottom card. Of course it is. That's not good. And rat, alright. Let's thin the deck a little bit. I'm gonna summon Senju with 1,000 Hands. Alright, so we're gonna grab ourselves a crab turtle. And then battle. Main phase 2, I will set a card and I will pass. Alright, draw. Standby main. Ooh, that's not the best. Alright. I'll set a monster. I will... Let's see. Let's see what you've got hidden there. Well, actually... Oh, it's a Sandkin. Ooh, interesting. Okay. I'm going to attack then with Man-Eater Bug. Do you have its response? On attack declaration, I'm going to activate Robin Goblin.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, yeah. Can't get that many.
Okay, so let's hit that one.
Pretty good.
Did it shuffle your hand when you picked it, or no?
They didn't shuffle my hand yet.
Okay. I was gonna say, I didn't want it to turn around and do that on because of that. Alright, I'll go.
Alright, draw for turn. Stand by main. Well, I have something to slow the game down at least.
Ugh. Alright. stand by main.
I'm not too happy with discarding healer, but it slows the game down some at least.
It does. Okay, well, I don't like this, but I'm gonna switch Maneater Bug to defense. I'm gonna activate Yumi Iruka, and then I'm going to summon out a High Tide Gyojin.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The fact that I was scraping the bottom of the barrel, like this shows how far into the barrel I was scraping for water monsters.
That's fine.
So 2150 into your defense.
It is a giant rat.
Ugh. Main 2. Let's hurry up and clear that wall. Oh, shit.
I don't like that because, I mean, I've already gone through this burning land, so it's pretty obvious I'm not going to go burning land.
Right.
Okay, maybe it's... I really don't like committing. I believe your hand is scrapped.
Correct.
So I feel safe masking your EOG.
Alright.
And I will pass the turn.
Draw. Standby. Main.
I mean, it took us, what, 5 episodes for somebody to play Control?
Yeah. That's because up until that point, we didn't really have a lot of control to work with. Alright, so it's...
Once we get later in the DM, like, even just the next few sets, the control decks are just gonna get so much better.
Oh, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna flip my Magician of Faith.
That's bad.
This is kind of a rough one, though, because it's like... Well... I feel like I have to go for it. Like... I'll grab Fisher. If your face down is something that can stop me, then so be it, but...
I mean, I still think that's right.
I figure, even if I Heavy Storm, I still have to find a way to clear over it, so...
And then I'm gonna end up taking 23. That sucks.
Alright.
Something like this.
Okay. So... Alright, so end of turn.
Draw for turn.
I will take the 500, you will gain your 500.
Yup. What is your monster zone happening?
Wait, what? What are you...
Why does your monster zone have to be something so bad?
Okay. Oh, that's why.
I wanted to revive the lab wall because that would actually save me, but, like, one, you didn't have things in your graveyard, and two, the monster zone was full.
Yeah. See, that's kind of the thing. That's why my Shallow Grave is in the side, because as much as it's a good card, the fact that you have both players have to have an open spot and a monster in the grave, it's kind of rough. Oh, wow, you pulled 3 Mask of the Accursed? Wait, isn't that a...
That's why I was playing this deck.
Oh, shit, that was a super.
Yeah, Mask of the Accursed is a super rare.
Wow, that's... Man. Well, I guess I'm gonna be... I guess I'll be, respectful. You showed me a couple of yours, I'll show a couple of mine. I didn't pull a whole lot. I pulled 3 hollows total. I did pull... Though I did do this.
Boy, I was looking for that card. Jesus Christ, you got 2 cylinders.
Yeah. Like, the first one, I want to say was, like, about halfway through the packs. And then on my last one, I had just gotten ready for the last pack. And I was like, man, can I at least have a hollow? So that way it's not just 2. And I, like, That was one of the most legitimate reactions I ever had to a pack, just because I didn't expect to see that scrolling down, like, because it started scrolling down, so like my brain barely had the time to even register what it was.
I would never have seen those anyway, because your magic skill abilities are really good.
Well, yeah. Like, the funny thing was, the first game, I actually had both in hand while I had Jinzo on the field, so I couldn't even play them.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I was like, well, you're probably not going to attack me, but at the same time, if it comes down to you needing to, like, to get desperate, then I guess I might as well have them in there.
I don't play that many. I don't play that many monsters in this deck. Honestly, what I was trying to do in games was really just get to green.
Yeah, that would have been troubling for me.
I just could not. I just could not establish board presence. I guess this means I have to go back to the drawing board again.
Well, it has been 3 times, so I think you get the catch-up wheel now, so...
Yes, so I get to explain what that's about. This is not the way I would have liked to do it, but it is the way we get to talk about it.
Also, I'm sure you're probably wondering why I used Yoruka instead of Yumi. There's actually 2 reasons for that. The first, I only pulled 1 Yumi, which is not good.
That's actually a better card in this deck specifically, but after the deck setting, maybe.
Yeah.
Legacy of Darkness is going to change things again a lot. We don't have true archetypes, but we have pretty extensive warrior support. We have the first really good heal spell, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go in that set. But that is a discussion for another time. I will go ahead and put you in the corner for a while.
Alright.
Yeah, I. I could wall up with.
Woo! Alright, so... that was a good win, and honestly, that was actually a much more convincing win than I thought it was going to be. Especially because what you saw Rai play is absolutely what we call bullshit. It is a super stun heavy deck, and it is something that, truthfully, I didn't think my deck was actually going to be well equipped to deal with, because when you have a whole lot of attack stopping and not a lot of removal, it's kind of hard to actually stop that. But either way, so for the spin, we get 2 spins, which is nice. And what this also means is, so we need to decide what we want to do for packs. I could choose to either go with 3 packs of the recent tournament pack, which I believe would be tournament pack 4? Let me see real quick. Okay, so yeah, it actually turns out it's tournament pack 2. Tournament pack 3 hasn't even come out yet at this point, which, wow, I didn't realize that TP2 lasted that long. So, I could choose to either take 3 packs of tournament pack 2, guaranteed, or I could spin the prize wheel to the pack wheel to hopefully hit 6 packs of the current set. But honestly, thinking about it, I don't know if I necessarily would want to take the extra packs, or even go for them, just because they're not very useful for the most part. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do then is for the first set, for my first reward, I'm going to go ahead and... yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the 3 packs of Tournament Pack 2. The reason I say that is because there's actually some decent stuff in Tournament Pack 2. The commons, for the most part, aren't all that useful, I want to say. I mean, Two-Headed King Rex is actually kind of decent as an attacker, but that's about it. For the rares, potentially, well, the rares actually have some decent options. Mystical Sheep number 1 is actually a nice card. It's a fusion substitute. And then we also have things like Skull Guardian, which granted, because it and Novox's Prayer, which is its ritual, are both rares, and we aren't guaranteed a rare or higher in a pack, that kind of means that it's not likely for us to hit it, but it would be kind of neat. The super rares would actually be kind of neat. Giant Red Sea Snake would be an 1800 attacker and water, so that would basically be a good replacement for High Tide Gyojin. And then the ultra rare is the Morphing Jar. So the odds of us actually pulling that in 3 packs are pretty slim, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. So let's give the first pack a try. And it looks like we don't really get anything special. Oh well, that's still the first pack. Let's give the second pack a try. And nothing there still. I mean, they're cool cards, but nothing special. Alright, third pack, let's see. And nothing special. Well, that's a bummer. But that's not too bad. I mean, the packs were a bust, but we still have a second spin. Okay, so yeah, for our second prize, I think we're just gonna go ahead and take the... What are we? We're just gonna take the wildcard spin and see what we hit. We still have some decent options for each rarity, so let's go ahead and see what we can pick up. Come on. Please not the comment. Please not the comment. Well, shoot. It almost was a rare. But that's not... Okay, that's not the worst, though, because I'm pretty sure there's still a couple comments we missed. Let me take a quick look. Okay, so for my second spin, I got the wild card. And for a common wild card, we're going to actually go with a copy of Zambira the Dark. The reason is because Zambira 2100 is still pretty good on its own. And even though it's going to lose power over time, and even though it can't attack directly, it's still a strong monster. So honestly, I feel like it's okay to pick up a second copy of this. Now, there is actually one thing... There's actually another thing I need to talk about too. And that is... There was actually a little side prize that we didn't mention at first. And that is the McDonald's promo packs. Specifically... Raikourider and I decided that because this came out between Pharaoh's Servant and Labyrinth of Nightmare, and because of the fact that the cards themselves are for the most part kind of pointless, we decided to have a fun little side prize of the winner receiving 5 packs of the McDonald's promos. Now, they have only 2 cards per each pack, and pretty much the entirety of them are kind of bad. Like, common cards of them all, the only ones that's actually kind of decent would be Yoranzo, and that's about it, to be honest. The super rares are kind of meh, and then the ultra rares are actually decent. Millennium Shield is basically a different version of Labyrinth Wall. Cosmo Queen's actually pretty strong at a 2900 2 tribute. So, I mean, these are good for Shallow Grave, basically. But aside from that, the cards themselves are pretty crappy. So we're just going to pull 5 packs and see what we hit here. Ooh, okay, so we actually hit Yoranzo. That's kind of nice. So, second pack. Fairy's Gift and 3-legged zombies. Is Fairy's Gift actually any good for anything? Oh, it's actually a... Wait, that's a spellcaster, not a fairy? Wow, that's surprising. Oh, well. Alright, third pack. And another Yoranzo. Looks like that's about it. Okay. So... And we also get a turtle bird. I don't think I've ever actually heard that name before, so... That's kind of neat. Alright, fourth pack. Another Megasonic Eye and another Yoranzo. Ew. I mean, granted, again, these packs aren't great, but still. And last pack. Another Megasonic Eye and another Yamadron. So, Yeah, that's... Okay, the fact that we actually hit play sets of 2 cards among this is actually kind of funny. Okay, so that finishes that out, and there's actually one thing we need to discuss left, which is Jinzo. Specifically, the banning of Jinzo. Because Raikourider, because he lost 3 matches in a row, he actually gets put into a different thing, into a different wheel than normal, which is called the catch-up wheel. Which, let me go ahead and pull it up real quick. So this is the catch-up wheel. Anytime a person, one of us loses 3 or more in a row, our reward spin is going to come from this wheel. The idea is that this is supposed to help catch up with the winner and kind of help settle it to where it's not going to turn into a constant blowout. So what it does is each of them have a much higher rarity for certain things. They have super rare wildcard, which is at a fairly high rarity here. Ultra rare, which is pretty close as well. Mainly because a lot of the power cards, especially in the early sets, are the higher rarity. So this will help kind of get some power in there. They have the wild card any slot, which means you could pick any card from the last 8 sets. Any 3 cards, which is a fairly rare chance, but that's basically like the coup de grace. And then Rai hit the most obvious one, the most likely one, which is ban 1 card. This will let us so basically with this one, he was allowed to pick a card to ban, and he decided to immediately snap Jinzo in an instant because, and honestly, I can't really fault him. Jinzo is a very powerful monster, is a very powerful machine, which can very much make a difference later down the road. And the fact that it negates all trap cards is pretty serious for us. And in fact, honestly, he even told me straight up, his trap cards he feels for the most part are better than mine, in that mine are good in a one-off situation, but his are very good for consistent situations. So he wants to get rid of Jinzo, and he feels like he could deal with my battle traps better than I can deal with his stuff. So unfortunately for us, Jinzo is going to take the ban hammer, but that's not the worst thing in the world. I'm sure we could power through it. So, but with that being said, guys, that's it for tonight's episode. So thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next week. Peace.